This is David Talbot. I'm CTO at WorkMovr. I'd like to talk about importing Excel and CSV and other types of files into Caspio. Now, there's three ways you can do this. The first way is to go into Caspio Bridge and do an Excel import. And we try not to do that very often. In fact, we don't even let our programmers do that without special permission because it's, first of all, really dangerous and you can make some big mistakes. And secondly, people outside the organization, if they need to upload files, you certainly don't want to give them access to Caspio Bridge. So we're just going to talk about here how you can do this from a web page or from an FTP site without going into Caspio Bridge. And so let's talk about Excel files, okay? And so we might want to bring in Excel files either from a data page, you have it on your hard drive and you want to bring it in, or pretty often an external organization will drop Excel files into an FTP site. And so let's talk about how we can do that. First of all, what we do is we use Amazon AWS a lot, okay? And I'll go into why we do that, okay? So we upload onto a data page, and we'll show you some pictures in a moment. And then as you upload, we put this into AWS. And this is just the raw file. We haven't changed anything. Okay, and then from AWS, we want to get it into Caspio, right? And so the way we do that is there's two ways of doing it. One is with Caspio APIs, and one is with Caspio Data Hub. Now, both have advantages and disadvantages. Caspio APIs have considerable logic capability, but they're really slow. So if you have any more than just a handful of data, it's just agonizing to use APIs. So we almost never use APIs for this particular purpose. We use APIs for lots of other stuff, but not for this purpose. So we want to use Data Hub. Now, the advantage of Data Hub is it's quick, can do a lot of records, but it doesn't have any logic, okay? And also Data Hub is a little bit fragile because if you have some mismatched columns, mismatched data types and stuff like that, you can actually corrupt Data Hub and can have a little bit of a problem there. So what we do is after we got the files, the raw file into AWS, we run a logic program, okay? And logic program can be more or less complicated. And basically what we do is we check all the columns, check all the data types, and if there's some logic, and often there is pre-processing logic here. So for example, if you have a claim date, okay, with a claim date, you can just make a decision and say, we won't accept any claim dates that are before January 1st, 2020, and we won't accept any claim dates that are after today. So simple logic, simple but very effective logic on that, okay? So after the logic program has executed, then we have a method that we can actually trigger Data Hub by program, okay? So we don't have to wait till tonight to run Data Hub. We can trigger Data Hub by program. And in the case I'm going to talk to you here, in the logic program, we've done some sort of business cross checks, and we put records into either good records or error records, okay? And we always do that import into staging tables because I think you want to have a look at everything before you put it into the final table. And then if all looks good, you run a Caspio scheduled task. And this piece here, you want to get done right away because you're here, you want to get it done, get balanced and whatever up to here. And then when you're pretty comfortable here, whether it takes another half an hour or so to run a scheduled task to get it into final Caspio, that's usually not as business important. Okay, so let's go through an example here. So what we have here is this is sort of a financial import type of situation. So we create a batch header in Caspio, and this is a Caspio data page. We input manual totals here. So we add up the records with an adding machine and put in manual totals here, okay, record count in dollars, okay. And then we have a file, and then the starting status is initiated. Then we have a button to upload the file, and you do the upload file and search for it on your hard drive. This is assuming that's the way of doing it. A lot of the time, this will actually be an automated process from the FTP site, okay? But say we're doing it manually, upload file. And then, the file is uploaded, changes the status here, okay? And then you got two things you can do. You can either delete the file, gives you the file name here, we obviously blanked it out here, or you can import the file. So you've uploaded the file, now you want to import it, okay? And so you press the import button, and off it goes. And you can see here, we're getting ready here for reconciliation, okay? Have a little "Are you sure?" sort of pop up here, and then do the import file, right? And at this point, the AWS logic executes, okay? And so AWS already has the file in its S3 bucket, and so the AWS program that we've written executes, and after it's finished executing, it activates the data hub by program, and the records are moved to staging, and we get the totals for balancing, okay? And so you can look here, you know, here we had $331,000 and 139 records. In the good staging table, we got 133 records and $319,000. And in the error table, we got 6 records and $12,000. So the total processed was 139, 331. And so the discrepancy was 0. So we're in good shape here, okay? And you probably would want to have a look at the records depending on, it's just good to have a manual check as well. And then you do click Move Batch to Production. And what that does is it changes the status here to moving to production. And then the next time we run the scheduled task, perhaps once an hour, it'll pick up those and will move the good records into production. And at the same time, we've got 6 records that didn't pass our simple business test, you know, like the date of the accident can't be less than Wednesday, January the 1st, 2020. We can't find the insurance company or something like that. And so you manually can go through here and correct these errors, and then the next time the scheduled task runs, it'll put them into production. So this seems to work pretty well. And I think that going back here, this logic program here is pretty essential, because if you have quite a lot of records and you have some error situations in those records, then it can corrupt Data Hub, and you'll have a data integrity loss. So I think this logic program pretty useful just for doing data types and make sure all the columns, you've got the right columns and stuff like that, but also useful for doing simple business checks, like is the insurance company on file, for instance, and very, very useful. So thank you very much.